Hey everybody, this is the Nate Echoes podcast. Welcome. I'm glad you're here, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to it on your favorite podcasting platform. I'm excited to have you here listening to this, and just thank you so much for coming. This is episode 023, Beat Yourself Up, and today, like many of my podcasting episodes, it starts out with a story about my kids. One of the things that happened to me just the other day is one of my sons came up, found me, and said, "Hey, Dad, let's wrestle." And I just looked at him. I wasn't really in the mood to wrestle. And I said, "Why do you want to wrestle me? You know you're going to lose." And he looks at me and he just says, "I know. Let's go." So I beat him up. But I started really thinking about that. We wrestled for a while. I pinned him. It was super fun. And we're a wrestling family. It's one of those things that we've just said, hey, three boys, this is what we're doing. But I started to recognize and realize that there's got to be some rules. But I was wondering, so I'm going to go through some of those rules that we have for our wrestling that I think we can apply in our adult lives and if you're a teenager, wherever you are listening to this or watching this. I think there's truths and objectives that we can still apply in this. But before we get to those rules, I started thinking, I was like, well, what is going on in his head that he wants to wrestle even though he knows he's going to lose? What is happening in his mindset that he knows that it's not going to work out for him? He knows that there's no way he's going to beat me, but yet he still is so excited to do it anyways. And I think a lot of that comes from this idea and this concept of the spending time, right? It's the involvement. It's spending time with Dad. There's other benefits to be drawn than just winning. And whenever I thought through that, I said, man, that can apply to so many different areas of my life, right? A lot of times, I like to win. I'm a competitive person. I like to win. If we're going to race, if we're going to work out, if we're going to go somewhere, I want to be the first one there. I want to be the fastest there. I want to do it the best. I like to win. And as I started really sitting there thinking, there's a lot of things in my life that I don't do because I don't know if I'm going to win at them. There's a lot of things in my life that I'm going to shy away from, or I'm not going to lean into because I do not know how they're going to turn out for me. Or I do know, and I know it's not going to be pretty. I know I'm going to lose at them. I know I'm going to get beat, right? It's going to kick my butt. So what are the benefits of doing things like that? Well, one of the principles that I live by is the best idea wins, right? Everything's an experiment, and we got to try things. I don't get so caught up in the thing that I try that I overlook all of the other beneficial things that could happen from something else. So we'll take this down the different path that I learned whenever I taught my kids how to wrestle, right? Now, I was not a high school wrestler. None of these things matter. This isn't a technical thing. If you're like, he's going to lose me on wrestling. No. These are just family rules that we instituted in our house as we wrestle. If we're going to be a family that wrestles, here are a few things that we need to know. The first one is a time and a place, right? There's a time and a place to wrestle. We're not doing it in the middle of Walmart, right? We're not doing it as we're going groceries. We're not doing it in the car. There are certain times and places that we do not wrestle, and then there are certain times and places where we can wrestle. And once we understand those, then we're a lot more free to be able to wrestle because we understand it doesn't just happen at this one point. And if we start wrestling over here, we're not going to be able to wrestle later, right? So being able to understand that there's a time and a place to wrestle is a key thing. I think if we also take all of these principles to the other logical level of what are you going to do when you deny yourself, when you beat yourself up? What are you doing to beat yourself up, to lose in something, right? When it comes to, are you picking a fight? Are you always picking a fight you know you can win? I think there's a time and a place for us to pick a fight where we know we can win. To take or accept a challenge that we know that we're going to crush it, right? But I also think there's a time and a place to know when we need to pick on somebody or pick on something or choose something that we do not know, or that we don't know if we're going to win, or that we know we're not going to win. It's only going to make us a better person. It's only going to make us more sharp in areas and understanding how to graciously lose, which leads us to the second thing, is tapping out. The other thing I taught my kids, hey, when we're wrestling, if you need to stop, if you need to go, there's honor in the tap out, right? There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm done. You tap the other person and you say, I've lost. This is you conceding. This is the thing saying, you have beat me, right? This is what one of the things I love about the MMA is just watching that tap out. These people who have trained for a long time and who are experts in their field, and yet they're still tapping out because they cannot take it anymore. But understanding that that is a real thing that needs to happen, and it's okay that that happens, right? It's okay if you accept a challenge, if you take on something and say, you know what, I'm tapping out. This has got me beat. Now, we don't want to do it too early. We don't want to do it at the intimidation factor. In our house, what we say is, hey, once you tap out, it's over. It's done, right? And so, because at first we started having a few people that was like, tap out, as soon as things started to get a little uncomfortable. Right? As soon as it started to get a little uncomfortable, Brody or Gage or Cole or somebody would tap out, just be like, oh, stop. Okay, now I'm ready again. It's like, no, just because you were going through a little discomfort doesn't mean you're ready to tap out. Doesn't mean you're ready to quit and give up. When you tap out, that means you're done. That means we're done, we're over, you've endured too much pain, and now we're able to stop this. And whenever it comes to our life, in our work, in our exercise, in our personal fitness routines, I think a lot of times what we do is we play the fake tap-out game. We tap out, it's like, oh man, I got to stop, when we're not really in a whole lot of pain. We just understand, I don't want to do this right now. The tap-out isn't for whenever I just don't want to do something. It's whenever you've been beat, right? The third thing that rule that we implemented in the house was we honor the tap out. One of the things that we do not do is we don't make fun of, first of all, when somebody taps out, you stop. Game's over. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's not, I think he's joking. I don't care if he's joking. If somebody taps, you're done, right? That's why the tap's so important. You don't tap out if you're just experiencing a little discomfort. That means you're done wrestling, right? But there's honor in the tap out, and being able to honor the tap out is a huge part of it. Being able to sit there and say, okay, I'm not going to make fun of you because I beat you, right? I'm going to understand that just because you've been beat doesn't mean you always will be beat. When it comes to our spiritual life, when it comes to our work life, when it comes to our relationships, we need to surround ourselves with people who are going to honor the tap out. When we're around other people who fail at something, we need to be able to honor that tap out. They admit that, hey, I didn't do this right. I've been beat. Anything like that. What we've got to be able to do is say, I'm going to honor that tap out. How can we get better for it? I'm not going to ridicule you or make fun of you for tapping out. But how can we improve on that thing? And when we start taking that to different levels, when we start taking that to our jobs, when we start taking that to our relationships, when we start taking that to our family, hey, I failed here. This is an area that it didn't work for me. This is the area where, man, I'm embarrassed, but like I had to tap out. I couldn't take it anymore. Oh, man, that stinks. Now, how can we do this better next time? No matter the situation, we honor that tap out. There's a misconception that if we, in society, that if we admit our failures, we're admitting our weakness. And I think that's bad. And I think there's some beauty in that. And we don't need to walk around wearing everything on our sleeves saying, I'm a failure, right? And there is a chance where we can go around and just constantly beating ourselves up. It goes back to the first one. There's a time and a place. We don't need to constantly be beating ourselves up, but we do need to have grace in defeat, right? And there's something about it that humbles ourselves, where we know we can get back up. As a parent, I want my kids to be able to get back up. That's one of the reasons that I beat them in wrestling and don't let them win very often, is because I want them to enjoy the process of going through a struggle, losing to that struggle, and getting back up and getting better again. So those are my thoughts for today. There's honor in the tap out. Beat yourself up, guys. As you go about your day, as you go about your week, what are areas in your life that you are accepting challenges that you think that you might lose, that you're not sure if you're actually going to survive? And the more times that we surround ourselves with things like that, the better parents will be, the better adults will be, the better Christians will be, the better humans will be, understanding that we are not infallible. We have our limits, and understanding our limits are key, and that's how we work on getting better. That's how we work on getting better in the things that we say and the ways that we think in our jobs, in our families. We can get better, but it has to come through practice. It has to come through understanding our limitations. It becomes the point of it's something you did one time. Yeah, I got my butt whooped by this person, or this paper absolutely killed me. This presentation that I had to give, I was not a fan of it. It becomes something that we did to something that we do. And whenever we challenge ourselves on the physical level or an emotional level or a spiritual level, and we understand that sometimes we're not going to hit those markers, we don't say, well, this just isn't for me. We get back on the horse and we try again. Dad, I still want to wrestle you. Even though I know it might kick my butt, I know we're going to be closer. We're going to be better afterwards. Hey, like always, thanks for joining. Thanks for I'd love it if you subscribed or share. If you saw anything in this, heard anything in this that made you think, that inspired you, share it with somebody. Man, I'd really appreciate it. Or reach out to me and let me know what worked for you. Have a good one.